Hi everyone, it's Sonia Doing, and I'm about to give a live reading, but first I want to tell you I am live from the Five Seasons in Santa Fe, and this place is beautiful. I'll do a little walk around before I end the video, but me and some other bloggers were here to check out their spa, and it is gorgeous, and I can't wait to come back. But a little bit about me before we get into the story. In case you don't know me, I am an award-winning creative writer. I am a published author. I love playing roller derby with Duke City Roller Derby, and I love adventure, and I love writing strong female characters. And so tonight you're going to hear the first chapter of Gamble of the Gods. So welcome to the first reading of Gamble of the Gods, which just came out. And there are actually two books in the series. There's Toy of the Gods, where we follow Leslie Kicklighter, and it's an adventure thriller. And then we also, this book, Gamble of the Gods, is a mystery thriller, and it follows a different character, AJ Bluehorse. And so before I start reading, though, I did want to mention the contest. So if you're interested in getting a free copy of Toy of the Gods and Gamble of the Gods, you have a chance. Just like this video, comment on the video, tell me if you've read Toy of the Gods or whatever, and then share the video, and you'll be in a running to get a chance to get a free copy of the books. And you have until Saturday at midnight, so you don't have to do it while it's live. But Saturday by midnight. Sunday I'll use a number generator to come up with a random number, and I'll pick that person. And so I'm going to start reading. And just an FYI, both of these books start out with an ominous chapter. It wasn't something I planned, but maybe that's just what happens when I write thrillers. Here we go. And what's lovely is the Four Seasons gave me this room to use, so I really appreciate that. All right, so first chapter of Gamble of the Gods. Bonnie trudged through the moonlit New Mexico desert, sending up bits of sand with every step of her faded Nikes. She moved steadily in the direction of the casino, even though all she saw in front of her were rolling hills. Hi, everybody. I'm going to keep going. Rolling hills with dots of cactus and bushes. The dark desert sky, bright stars, and partial moon made it feel spooky. Glancing back, she could see only more hills. Thank goodness that man wasn't following her. She was pretty sure he hadn't seen her when she slipped out of his cabin. Feeling safe enough for some light, she pulled out her phone and checked for cell coverage. Damn, still no connection. Her friend Pam would never let her hear the end of this. Bonnie's instincts had kept her alive while hitchhiking across the states so far. When Bonnie met him at the casino, playing a one-armed bandit, he had seemed like a decent local guy with the promise of a free meal. He told her to call him Mai, and shared a story about growing up on the res. He promised lamb stew and maybe even some elk meat. She had never talked with a Navajo before. She figured he had more interesting stories he might share with her, and she loved hearing about other cultures. She had gladly climbed into... Sorry, I just had a oxygen facial thing around my eyes. I'm going to try to keep reading this. She had gladly climbed into his beat-up truck, but the second they turned off the highway toward the remote building, she had started to worry. When they walked into his cabin, the smell was overwhelming. The stench made her nose wrinkle in disgust. Don't worry about the smell, Mai said. I dry a lot of herbs and grasses. They tend to smell skunky. The place looked normal enough. A new TV sitting in the corner, but it looked out of place with the old wood furniture. The couch was covered in blankets, old and beat up under those layers. And there was that door, closed so she couldn't see behind it. The dark wood-paneled door looked solid, and it had a heavy-duty padlock. She did a double take at a dark red blotch on the door handle. Rust, certainly. But that's not where her mind went. Now she was trying to put as many miles as possible between her and Mai's cabin. In the distance, a coyote howled, the sound echoing through the hills. She couldn't tell if it was 1 or 20. She had heard plenty of coyotes before, growing up in California, and they had all sounded mournful, but this one sounded excited and made her skin crawl. Weird, she thought. Not that coyotes were anything to be afraid of. Her dad had once rescued their dog from a coyote about to pounce, and it had rushed off at the sight of a human. But if there was a pack, maybe she should worry. She wrapped her blue scarf a little tighter to keep out the cold night air. She tried pulling her jacket tighter, but it was missing too many buttons to be of use. She didn't think Mai would come looking for her. If she could make it to the top of the next hill, maybe she would have self-service and could call for an Uber if they had him out here in the outskirts of Gallup. The coyote called out again, closer this time. Her feet crunched on something. She looked down into the blank stare of a rabbit's skull. Stepping over it, she spotted more blank stares. She turned on the flashlight on her phone and panned the light around. The dry arroyo was filled with tiny skeletons and decaying flesh. The stench of methane and rot assailed her, and she covered her nose with her scarf. It was even worse than when she had worked at a restaurant and had to throw trash into the garbage in the alley. She swallowed hard and let the light from her cell phone fall back to her feet. As her eyes adjusted back to the moonlight, the white bones shone bright. It didn't make sense. So many bones. She had heard of animals going somewhere to die, but rabbits and whatever other animals, that couldn't be normal. Some of the carcasses were still decomposing. She could make out the remnants of skin and hair on some of the bones. Suddenly, there was movement in the distance. A coyote was weaving its way between bushes and cactus down the hill. Coyotes didn't attack people though, right? They were too small and scrawny to take down even her, unless it was rabid. Maybe she should move faster. She took a step to climb out of the sandy creek bed when she accidentally kicked another skull. It rolled onto the top of her foot, and a human skull stared up at the night sky. She gasped and stepped back. I gotta get out of here, she thought. The coyote called again. She scrambled up the side of the arroyo, but her right foot slipped in the sand. She grabbed a scrub brush to keep from sliding more and glanced behind her. She could see the coyote. It was standing on the other hill, silhouetted by the moonlight. Her breath caught in her throat. It was the biggest coyote she had ever seen. Its eyes reflected the moonlight as it looked at her. It smiled, showing its famed teeth, and that one eyebrow lifted. It was moving toward her. She struggled up the hillside, but the sand was giving her no purchase. She had to calm herself, walk to a different hill. The coyote wasn't going to attack a human. She glanced back at the carcasses and skeletons. Unless it's responsible for all this. Then the coyote was rushing across the arroyo. She heard a breathing next to her. She turned to look at the fierce stare from the coyote. She gasped at its golden brown eyes as they shifted from the golden brown to the brown of human eyes, then back to coyote. What the hell? She should have stayed at the casino. The coyote's lips curled and exposed fangs. She screamed as it leapt, its jaws aimed at her throat. She grabbed its sand and threw it into its eyes while she jumped back into the middle of the arroyo among the bones, but not before it had ripped at her arm. There was no time to look, but she could feel pain and blood seeping down her arm. The coyote snarled. She was making too much noise on the crunching bones. The coyote was watching and it was scratching at its eyes, but its nose was pointed toward her the whole time. She timed her leap with its leap, jumping off to her right. Ugh! She landed on her ankle wrong and collapsed. She grabbed at the bones lying around her, trying to find something sharp. The laugh coming from the coyote was definitely not normal. The now open and hooded eyes of the coyote belied its intention to continue attacking. She grabbed at the first thing she could. She grimaced at the feel of squishy grossness and threw the partially decomposing head of something at the coyote. She choked on the rancid smell. The coyote let it bounce off its coat and sneezed. It was toying with her, slowly coming at her. She could feel its enjoyment. This thing was out to kill her. She was going to die with these stupid bones. If she was going to die, though, she would make this bastard pay. Bonnie found a long bone and raised it as the coyote, eyes open, crept toward her with a smile. And that is chapter 1. Chapter 2, you get to know AJ Bluehorse, who's the main character of this story. Navajo, computer programmer, and she's recently inherited some magical powers that she has to deal with. So that was Gamble of the Gods, and thank you for listening in. And real quick though, I wanted to show you guys, this room is amazing. Look at that beautiful space. And I have to show you the dining room. It's right around the corner. Hopefully there's not a bunch of people eating, seeing me showing them on video. But this is the Four Seasons in Santa Fe. It is gorgeous. Oh, this door is heavy. Go ahead. Okay, that's it. That's the beautiful dining area. This space is gorgeous. Now, I did want to mention, if you guys have read Toy the Gods, you can't wait for Gamble the Gods. First of all, I'll choose the winner on Sunday. But also, if you go to my website, you can sign up for a prequel to Toy the Gods. You get that for free, and it's called Ire of the Gods. There's a little theme going on there. And let's see. Anybody have any questions? Feel free to ask them in the chat or the messaging, and I will respond to them probably when I get home, because there's no internet. There's internet, but there's no cell service out here. So once I leave, probably won't have service until I get home. But thank you all for coming. Thanks, Dad. I see you there. Thanks, Jason. Talk to you guys later.